Who are some of your biggest influences in terms of Regency or historical romance authors?
I think she's maybe underrated. I don't feel like I hear about her a lot, but one of my favorite authors that I've been reading like since I've been reading romance is I have one of her books here. Barbara Metzger. She's
Oh,
like a older author. Actually, I think Barbara Metzger passed away a few years ago, so she's no longer writing, but her books are, she just does great. She always has just these wild stories, but her characters feel so real and she unravels her story in such an interesting way that I love her writing. And I feel like her writing has aged well. For example, the book I just held up, Lady Wilton's Wedding. The premise is that Lady Wilton is like older. She's been married a couple times. And so the main character is her daughter who has to hide a body because she doesn't want to ruin her mother's wedding.
wow.
So yeah. So she's probably one of my favorite authors. And whenever I think about like, how can I approach this? What will make this interesting? How can I let this unravel? I think about her and what I like about her books and her writing and how she tells stories.
Yeah, that's really cool. I've never heard of her before, so I'm gonna go download some of her books and see what it's all about. And I know you said that you came to this story partly from the title, but how do stories come to you typically? Do you always start with just like a title, or is it more character based, trope based?
I think it helps me to start with an idea or theme and then kind of explore what, if I was to write that, what does that mean to me? So, like, when writing Snow White, like, I had this theme, but I was like, how could I write it my way? How could I turn Snow White into a Regency story? How could I turn it into more of a romance? How, and I just started asking all these questions and I start building and I start slowly building a character and a general idea of what a story might look like. But yeah, whenever I start with something, I always try to start with like a theme and then branch out from there.
Yeah, yeah. In your bio, you kind of said that like you're writing it again. So when did you start creative writing?
I guess, I mean, on and off. I tried writing a book years ago, at least 10 years ago, and it was such a mess that I just dropped it. I was like, this isn't even worth editing.
Was that historical romance as well?
No, it was just an exploration of storytelling and I don't know, figuring out writing. It was a time ad shift adventure story where someone went back in time to ancient Egypt and then wanted to get back to their own time.
Okay.
I wrote that a long time ago.
And so then what do you think brought you to writing historical romance?
I guess because I didn't get my degree, like I didn't go to high school and then get my degree, which I guess is why I bring it up in my bio. Like it was a big accomplishment for me to like graduate and then not immediately go on to that. And then later in my adult life be like, I think this is something I want.
Yeah.
So I feel like I had a life before and then like I paused everything to like throw into finishing my degree. And then that's kind of why like I finally came back to writing. Yeah, and then I came back to Regency romance, I guess, then because once I was able to come back to writing, I just kind of had to sit myself down and, ask myself, Anna, if you're going to try to write something, like what would it be? And obviously, like, write what you know, right? What would you read? And that's it. This is what I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. And do you feel like have there been any discoveries about the genre as you've transitioned from being a reader? I mean, obviously you're still a reader, but from now becoming a writer as well, have you discovered anything about the genre?
I think the biggest thing I've discovered is that being a reader does not prepare you for the historical intricacies of being a writer. As a reader, you can just enjoy all the little things like, oh, Lord, blah, 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 and hello, sir, blah, blah, blah. But then as a writer, you're like, what are the actual rules for that? I need to know these things. My readers are relying on me knowing these things. It's pressure.
Yes. Yeah. And there's so much as a reader that you're just kind of like, oh, I think I know that. But then if you actually have to like write out the rule or
Yeah.
decide for it yourself, what is the difference between a barouche and a cabriolet? I still don't know, and I have to look it up every time.